to today's Pride Talk, Cultivating an Environment of Inclusion by my friend, the OG, Dr. Anthony Seahill, chair of our School of Social Work. Before we get started, I do want to recognize a couple of individuals in the audience. Kathy Mangano, hello. Kathy just finished an amazing year of our Humanics faculty. You missed that lecture last week, or this week. It was phenomenal. And then sitting next to Kathy, we've got the 2023-24 Humanics faculty member, Professor Miguel. Thank you both for both of your work that you do. And today, a former Humanics professor, this is like the room of stars, is going to be talking to us about inclusion. So this is not about me today, this is all about you. So we're going to turn over to you, Dr. Hill.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So good to see you all. Thank you for being here. I'm grateful to be here before you. Dr. Chill, good to see you.
Good to see you, Dr. Hill.
Office of Inclusion and Community Engagement. I also have my Department of Social Work colleagues came out in great number. Good to see you all. Faculty, staff, and friends. So I'm excited to be here today.
And your beautiful daughter.
And my beautiful daughter. And my wife is on the way. So today's talk, cultivating a sense of belonging for students on campus. How do we counter the level of disengagement, the lack of connection that students have felt during the pandemic and even before the pandemic? So this sense of belonging is crucial to the academic, social, emotional success and well-being. So the aim for Springfield College and other societal institutions is not only recruiting diverse students, a diverse workforce, but how do we retain folks? How do we make sure that folks come and then be disgruntled or dissatisfied and then leave? So what is it we can do? So this talk on belonging is very, very imperative. So I thank you for your time. I want to start off with 3 quotes. First, by Maya Angelou, and she says, "I long, as does every human being, to be at home wherever I find myself." The second quote is by Bell Hooks, and she says, "The challenge these days is to be somewhere, to belong to some particular place, to invest oneself in it, to draw strength and courage from it, to dwell in community." The last quote I want to quote, I've been reading a book by Eddie Glaude, and it's about the life of James Baldwin, and it's called Begin Again. And he says, professor from Princeton, he says, we have to muster the moral strength to reimagine America. The moral stamina is to fight. This fight requires that we cultivate our own elsewhere, because the one who finds no way to rest cannot long survive the battle. We have to find and rest in a community of love. In our time, it's so much hatred and so much venom in our politics and our culture. We must actively cultivate communities of love that allow us to imagine different ways of being together. So from these quotes, thinking about bringing it home to Springfield College, college becomes a safe haven, a home away from home, a protective factor, a period of growth, reflection, awareness, and learning about oneself and how do I use myself to intervene in the world. to make this world a better place than we found it. So how do we create a sense of belonging, a safe, conducive learning environment where one is not on edge, one is not fearful, one is not walking on eggshells, but a place to explore, the place to show up with courage? Who are you? How do you show up? And how do you want to show up? Is there consistency in how you show up, and how do you truly want to show up? These quotes also talk about imagination. Again, not talking about the past, not as the world is, but what can the world be? Imagination. A community where I can be my true self, no mask. I can be authentic, I can be genuine. I can love and be loved. I can be vulnerable and not have a mask about who I really am, where I'm from, my culture, and my ways of doing things. So Eddie Glaude talks about this place called elsewhere, creating a sense of elsewhere, meaning who has your back? Who do you turn to? Who checks you on your stuff? You know, I don't know if you remember a good friend of mine, David Rudder, he would always check me. You know, he would affirm me, but he would say, Hill, that's some BS, you know. So, but really having people that really, you can be real and honest and forthright, where you can experience deep belly laughs. So true friends feel connected. So studies on belonging show that students are more engaged academically where they have a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging can even improve students' mental health. So this level of engagement in the school community can increase academic performance, even the participation. So many clubs and extracurricular activities we have on campus, that makes school fun, a safe haven, a protective factor. And I can tell you firsthand how this education truly can transform lives. I'm going back to my school days when I was a principal, and there was something called the Liberty Learning Pledge. So I'm doing a lot of talking, so I need you all to help me out. Can you help me out?
Yes, sir.
So if you know, I love pledges, so I just need you to repeat after me. I will put forth my best effort daily at school, at home, and in my community. I know I have great potential. I'll be proud of myself to make others proud of me. I will. Have a great day. I will. Have a great year. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Now, I want to tell you something now. That created a sense of belonging. Because the young students, I'll tell you, at this school where I was the principal of, it was a trifecta. It was a place where the students didn't want to come, the parents didn't want to send their children, and the teachers didn't want to teach there. So I'm hired. So that was one of the first things I did. You want to get buy-in, but I said, I got to do something to change the culture. But it created a sense of belonging, where every day this was recited, and students would say, I know the pledge, and then I would give them pencils, and then it was great because when the parents would come, we'd have events, and I'd bring all the children together, and they would say, I know I had great potential. And it really speaks to education and the power of education to transform. It's not something that you have or you don't have, but it really speaks to a growth mindset that you can get better, you can do it. You have great potential. Thank you. I feel principalship now. I feel pretty good now. Thank you. So this issue is really letting education can transform lives, closing the back door. So it's not enough just to get people in the door, but close the back door. How do we get people to stay and enjoy their tenure, where they're excited about being here? So we don't want students to feel isolated, alone, or it's very dangerous if individuals feel as though they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to turn to, no one to turn to, no one holding them accountable based on relationship. I don't know about you, but sometimes you don't have to say a word. How many people had loved ones who just give you a look and you say, okay, I'm sorry. So very important to recognize and realize that we need to send crucial messages of belonging, letting our students know, I see you, I value you, I appreciate you, I welcome your contributions, I recognize that everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has a story to tell. In this world, so much pain, so much anger, so much frustration, so much hurt, harm, and danger. How can we be instruments of peace? How could we be part of the solution than part of the problem? And I believe cultivating a sense of belonging does this. So this importance of promoting hope, health, and healing as educators, as faculty and staff, and even students to each other, promoting hope and healing and good health. So in the description, I talked about microaggressions. And microaggressions are verbal or behavioral, indirect, subtle, unintentional or intentional discrimination against a member of a group that could be perceived as derogatory, negative, and humiliating. So here are some examples. You sound very intelligent for someone of your race. You're not like the others. Or, what are you? This exoticism, you're different. Tell me. We have to overcome, Brian Stevenson talks about overcoming this narrative of fear, changing the paradigm. Other examples are, Carnegie talks about just the joy and the pleasure of getting someone's name right. So this issue, creating a sense of belonging, is learning, not shortening someone's name, not renaming folks, but really taking the time to really enunciate and pronounce one's name correctly. Not lowering the bar for students based on their perceived backgrounds. So I know that those students are from urban areas or rural areas or first generation. So I'm going to talk more about this, expectations. Another one is not having students speak as representatives or as experts for their race or their community. So as you can see, this term microaggressions, it seems innocent when you say micro, but you can also consider them macroaggressions. I heard someone recently call them micro humiliations. There's a recent statistic I heard just recently that students of color might experience 5 of these microaggressions every single day. So I'm really pleased to have you come here today for us to have this conversation about how can we, no matter as we're educators, staff, or even students, how can we cultivate an environment of belonging? So first of all, you have to care. Saying students don't care how much you know, but they know, you can talk back to me, how much you care. You know how much you care. So this caring relationships based on trust. Interestingly, students of color might feel a level of visibility and invisibility. Visible, being seen as different, not fitting in, being held to unfair standards. Invisible, no one catering to my interests, my thoughts, my ideas, my uniqueness, my traditions, my culture, my ways of knowing and being. I love this. Esteemed theologian, author, film producer, Bishop T.D. Jakes says, don't let anybody put you in a box unless you're dead. So if I were to ask you, who are you? Who are you? Some would say student. Who are you? Some would say gender. Who are you? Some would say race. Who are you? I'm a daughter. Who are you? I'm a mother. Who are you? There are multiple aspects of your identity. So don't let anyone categorize you and put you in a box. And what's interesting, some aspects of our identity are privileged, and some of them may be targets. But again, being mindful that you are more than just one aspect of your identity. Everyone has a story to tell. Are you willing to listen to the unique stories of our students? Are you willing to look past the stereotypes, the assumptions, the prejudgments, and really take the time to listen to the stories of the students in your classroom? Listening is an art. It's a skill that people think they're really good at and really do poorly at. So this issue, especially in our society, of multitasking, and it's very important for us to give people the gift of your presence, of your time, of truly, truly listening. So not thinking about lunch or dinner plans, but this issue of saying, I'm here for you, I want you to be better, I want you to do better. What can I do to assist you on your goals and your dreams? Not about me, but all about you. So your unique story, your contributions, your perspective, what can I do to assist you? I didn't realize this, but students tell me, you know, there's some Dr. Hillisms. And I didn't realize this, but I guess the students, you know, they'll show you and tell you who you are. So there's some Dr. Hillisms, so I want to share with you. And one of them is, I firmly believe that whether you're a child, whether you're working, individuals will rise to the level of expectations. So the question is, what are you expecting? Also, you get what you expect, you get what you respect, and you also get what you inspect. So you get what you expect. Again, individuals will rise to the level of expectations. What do you expect? If you expect low, you're going to get low. So with support, realizing that individuals will rise to the level of expectations, also realizing that respect is not one-sided. It's not a one-way street. Respect is a two-way street. I worked at the middle school, Mister, because you lose your name. Mister, she don't respect me, why should I? So realizing we have to be mindful of engaging in respectful interactions with our students. And then also, you get what you expect, you get what you respect, you get what you inspect. Also, we live in a data-driven society. You get what you inspect. And this is very important to realize, because we can't keep doing the same old thing and expecting a different result. So if it's working, how can we make interventions, solutions work for more people? If it's not working, why are we doing it? You know, this issue of we've never done it this way before. So you get what you get what you inspect. Bringing it home to Springfield College, and you think about the Humanics philosophy and this mission. Again, I've never been to a place with so many triangles, but when you think about it, you think about this mission of educating the whole person, spirit, mind, and body, and leadership in service to others. Really talking about, number one, leadership, number one, service. Whenever you get on a plane, they say, put your own oxygen mask on first. I'm going to talk to the ladies. My wife is here, so I can say this now. If you get sick, who's going to take care of you? You're busy taking care of others, so they say, that's why they say, put your own oxygen mask on first. And usually I'm strong and I can take care of things, but she says, when I get sick, oh, Tony, you're a baby. You know? So this issue of service, leadership, spirit, mind, and body, balance, importance of rest, importance of nutrition. So much pain, so much suffering, so much stress and anxiety in the world. One of my sheroes is Mary Wright Edelman, and she talks about service is the rent we pay for living on this earth. And then she talks about, and this is very crucial to belonging, is how are you going to make this world a better place than you found it? I want to make sure I have some time for question and answers. So I want to close now, but I want to end with a personal story. I want to talk about a time, and I can go on and on, but I'll spare you, but when I felt an extreme sense of belonging. I was raised by my grandmother, Clara Percola Hill, and she would have been 101 years old if she was still living. And I love her due to her love and the specialness I felt around her. She saw me. She really listened to me. She would have these sayings that I would not understand. She would say stuff like, I'm going to pay you for the new and the old. So all that stuff I thought I got away with, it was coming back to me. And I'm scratching my head. What do you mean? I thought I was scot-free. But she was talking about the importance of accountability. In other words, you can run, but you can't hide. What's done in the dark will come to the light, and things will catch up to you. So she was sharing with me at a young age to be a person of integrity. Who are you when nobody's looking? Are you going to do the right thing? Anyhow. So it pays to do the right thing. Again, I felt really a sense of belonging with her. My grandmother was a small, petite woman. And I remember being 9 years old, sort of like you, Dean Rachel, sort of like you. And I remember being 9 years old, and she had 10 kids. And I'm grateful because she raised my sister and I. And I said, I'm 9 years old, and I said, Grandma, why are all your children so large? And we would say, big boned. Why are your children so big boned and you're so small? And she said, well, they ate and I didn't. So when you talk about the love, when you talk about devotion, you talk about the sacrifices that she was able to pour into me and to her family. And I'm asking you, cultivating a sense of belonging, what love, what devotion, what sacrifices are you going to pour into your students to cultivate a sense of belonging? Thank you very much.
I was sitting there taking notes because, I steal things when I like what I hear. So for those of you all that were listening like I was, I really appreciated that pledge. And I was listening to you talk about the pledge and talking about that belonging. You brought it back to the mission, because I think here at Springfield College, we may not have a principal that's sharing with us a pledge, but I think each of us is connected to the college mission. So that belonging is tied to our understanding of Springfield College's mission and how does each of us in our own way embody it. We also talked about microaggressions. We know that for BIPOC, minoritized, and other marginalized students across campus, they are experiencing microaggressions on a daily basis. And for those students, sometimes those microaggressions can be so overwhelming that they may say that this is not their space. I've talked about, and you said that, belonging is about home. Well, if you don't feel like you're at home, you may go elsewhere. So how do we, as we cultivate this sense of belonging, try to eliminate these microaggressions that our students are experiencing? You also talked about trust. I want to trust those people that I am in fellowship with and community with. Because if I have your back, I want to make sure that you've got my back. You then said, what's your story? And you talked about listening. And I think it's so important for us to listen to those that we are engaged with and be open to hearing their story. Each of us comes to the table with different perspectives, and I love that perspective on we're not simply a box, but we're so much more than what we hear. And then that expect, respect, and inspect.
That's my Dr. Hill.
Oh, I can't take that. I can't take that. You get. I was getting ready. Okay. I'll leave it. I'll let you have that one. I'll let you have that one. But I appreciated that. And then everybody. We love Mary right over. That whole concept of service. All right, we are put on earth for a limited time period. So it's not about who we've become and all the accolades. It's about what are we doing for other people. And I think that's one of the things that we really can pride ourselves here at Springfield College talking about. And then you just brought me home when you talked about that concept of sacrifice. What are we willing to sacrifice here at Springfield College to make sure that others feel like this is their home? Is it sacrificing my privilege? Is it sacrificing my grades? What is it that we are willing to sacrifice so that others feel like this is their home as well? So thank you for that. I took a lot away with it, but we want to see if those that are here have any comments and questions. See, I was taking notes, because I steal things, so you all know that. So David knows it because I steal his stuff all the time. Any comments or questions for Dr. Hill? The OG. All right. Dean.
I was thinking about micro-humiliations, microaggressions, and I'm interested in the term micro-affirmations, which I've heard, and I think you've already talked about this, but I'm just curious to hear you talk a bit more about what are examples of micro-affirmations that we can all do?
That was a good question. I'm not the only one that steals.
I think it's very important for us to be transparent and genuine and let students know the impact that they have. If you see someone who writes well or how they interact. So I think so many times we focus on what's not working and we sort of give that and magnify that. But I think those micro affirmations are even comments in class, letting students know, I really valued how you supported that student. I really, so seemingly small things really can go away. I think also Dr. Hill talked about trust, but also really being present. I talked about listening, but then also allowing people to share and tell them about who they are. So really being present, recognizing that everyone has a story, and we all may have prejudgments or thoughts about who they are, and especially if you have a similar identity. You may think you can fill in the blanks, but allowing people to write their own story and share their own narrative is very valuable. Okay. Yes.
I had a conversation yesterday with one of the students in our program who is Muslim and Arab, and we were just having a very open conversation about what racism looks like for her on campus and in the surrounding area. And it sounded like a lot of what she experiences are microaggressions, but are those really subtle ones.
Yeah.
Like I'm the last one to get picked for a
Yeah.
group project.
Yeah.
Or I ask a question in an open lab and no one responds to me.
Yeah.
Or people don't make eye contact with me.
Yeah.
How do you interject into that space and acknowledge that that is not that something is happening
Yeah.
when it's not as overt as a kid says something in class that is oh, okay, I have to address that. How do you
Yeah.
know it's not easy?
Well, I think this issue of you're not in it by yourself. So hopefully there's someone else that sees you that you can sort of talk to. More importantly, I would hope that you could go to the instructor and say, because again, if you're experiencing these things, and I mentioned 5 times a day, and you're like, is this really happening? Is it me, or am I overreacting? But really talking to an instructor and saying, I don't feel a level of comfort. I feel as though, how many people in the room have you said something and then it just dropped, and then someone else says it, and then everyone goes, oh, that's a great idea, that's a great idea. So it's very important to recognize and realize that that person is not alone. And I'm going years back into my school experience. Sometimes there are rooms, I'm thinking now, I don't know where this came from, but I'll share it with you. Being in the teacher's room, and there's a toxic talk about the kids and about the parents and what have you. And there's some folks that just won't eat in the teacher's room. So what they'll do is they'll eat in their own room, or they'll find someone that they can talk to, converse with, that's pro-social. So in that particular case, I would see, are there other students that may be experiencing that they can talk to? There's the Office of Multicultural Affairs, Inclusion and Community Engagement. Deja here, you can talk to, but realizing that you're not alone, that there are people here to help, people here to support you, that you don't have to go alone.
Other questions, comments?
Well, I just want to say thank you for your time, thank you for your presence, and I also want to congratulate Dr. Hill for celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday, Dr. Hill.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Calvin. No, I told you. Happy birthday to you.
So Dr. Hill, I'm the OG, but you're the new G. People in the community will come to me and say, Dr. Hill, I need to talk to you. I need to do X, Y, and Z. I need Springfield College. I said, no, you want Calvin Hill. You want Calvin Hill. But thank you, man, for your work. DEI, all of your hard work for the years you've been here, really propelling the college to newer heights and depths. So happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Thanks, Dr. Hill. Oh, Dr. Hill. Happy birthday. Calvin's really awesome, and we just could not acknowledge all that he does. He really supports us. He's Dr. Chill. He's really an amazing supervisor and VP, and everyone knows that. So we wanted to make sure we acknowledge you today. And there's cupcakes, so please eat them.
Yes, but take lots of cupcakes. Before we get done, one final announcement. Next week is our last Pride Talk of the year. We've got Dr. Ashley McNeil, who is going to be talking to us about cultivating our mission statements. So as we think about belonging, who are we? What do we stand for? So next week we want to have as many people as we can fill this room on the 27th to hear our final Pride Talk of the year. And then there's a lot of changes happening here at campus. Kevin, how are you? You're going to be retiring at the end of this year, I hear. I like to put people on the spot as well. Anyway, we look forward to seeing you. Please grab a cupcake because they are not coming home. We appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Damon.